day, everyone. We got Scott Schilling here with us, the authentic connector, massive action taker, some really fun stories to bring to the stage for us today. As usual, we'll go over a bit of his business, then some of his stories and his teachings and all of that fun stuff. And then we'll move on to where he's going from here and then some last awesome things to leave us with. So, Scott, take it away. Tell us about your business to start with.
Well, geez, I wish I knew. I'm very blessed. I'm fortunate. I've done over 3,000 live events in my career. So classically, I am a speaker, trainer, coach, consultant, walker. You never know. I get to do a lot of different things: podcast, media host, guest podcast host. So my business is really about communicating messages that serve whomever those messages land with. And my innate ability is that of a third-party advocate. You can sell you, I can sell you better. That's not an egotistical or arrogant statement. It's a sales psychology statement. And it's also a desire. I come out of the Ziegler camp. You can have everything in life you want when you help enough other people get what they want. That's my guiding principle.
I love that so much. And so you've done, it was like hundreds of talks all over
3,000. Over 3,000.
I was going to say thousands, and then I was like, maybe I'm setting you up for failure. But no, 3,000 is huge. That is phenomenal. And like you have this business where you connect people with things. And I mean, you've already connected me with some really fun resources that I can go and help my businesses out with. Tell us a bit about that. Like, how did you get into that side of it?
Well, it starts literally, the foundational principle is that Zig's quote, you can have everything in life you want when you help enough other people get what they want. And so my entire career in life, quite frankly, has been about meeting people and asking questions. You know, if you could improve your life in any particular area, what would it be? What would serve you? How can you, those kinds of things. And so what tends to happen when you ask questions and listen is you hear people's challenges, and then you also hear people's solutions. So I specialize in identifying problems and providing solutions. When you find it, I share this all the time, pretty consistently. The chances of you needing what I do when we first meet is maybe 5%. But the chances of you needing to know something I know or someone I know is probably 95%. Therefore, become an asset to everyone you meet. Asset is a 5-letter acronym for a spontaneous servant every time. Become a spontaneous servant every time, the rest kind of takes care of itself. So if like when you and I first met, when Sean got us on a Zoom and we met for the first time, I ask you questions about what do you do? Why do you do it? How would you like to do it better? Who would be helpful to know to be able to do it better? What would serve you? And when you ask questions to people about them, you'll find out that they have a great desire to talk about their favorite topic, them.
Yeah.
And so they share that information with you, and you kind of lodge it up the noggin somewhere. And it happens often when you get what you focus on. You had said to me, well, I'm looking for XYZ. My reticular activation system in my brain, because that's top of mind, will be looking for solutions to XYZ. And it's not uncommon for that solution to show up the same day, the next day, 2 days later. And then I can call and say, hey, Megan, were you really serious about XYZ? Yeah. Hard to believe, but all of a sudden I ran into somebody that supplies XYZ. Would you like to meet him? So part of it is simply having a desire to be of service to others. And then you let the natural genius that you've been built with, I didn't build me, higher source, God built me. But he put this reticular activation system in us so that when something is top of mind, it will find that answer for you. And once you have that answer, then you can be of service to another. So it's a pretty easy thing to do, actually, should you make the decision to do it.
And I can totally hear like that, and I've experienced that in my life. When you bring it to the top of your mind, stuff just starts to show up. When you listen to that little voice in the back of your head, stuff just starts to happen. When you don't listen to it, it's a completely different experience.
Well, stuff still happens. You just don't pay attention to it.
Well, so
So the fun of it is you can almost kind of make it a little bit of a game if you want to, just for fun. Is like, gosh, who do I know that? ... And it's phenomenal. It's one of the reasons that I suggest to my students, my clients, that they create an evidence log. And an evidence log is exactly that. It's the logging of the success that happens after initial request. So whether that be on a spiritual side, that you pray and you say, hey, God, help me, ... And 3, 6, 8 months later, that happens, that you write it down so you go, gosh, praying does work. Having faith does work. Or similarly in a business situation, boy, if I could meet somebody that ... right? Point is that when you jot down the evidence of your thought and focus of coming true, it strengthens your faith. And faith is confidence in the unseen, assurance of the unknown. Nobody would ever be in business without faith. Well, that's a pretty dramatic statement, Scott. Prove it. Okay, I will. The fact is, confidence in the unseen, it hasn't happened, so there's no reason to believe somebody will do business with you. Assurance of the unknown. Well, you don't know whether they will or won't, and yet you still have this business and are making these offers. By definition, you have to have faith. Now, that same definition is also the definition of fear. Confidence in the unseen, assurance of the unknown. The difference is that when you're in fear, your belief is it won't happen. It will not happen. And so you have confidence it will not happen. You're assured that it will not happen. Or when you have faith, you're assured it will happen and that you have confidence that it'll happen. And so again, I would suggest that people are buoyed up through faith. It's that simple.
that makes total sense. And it's even interesting watching in my own life how that has come true. And just saying yes and making the leap of faith, because that is exactly what it is. Like each phone call you get on, it's like, let's see what's created. Let's see.
It's one of those things that if you reach out to somebody and they either don't answer or don't respond the way that you would prefer, your life didn't get worse. Now, it might not have improved, but it didn't get worse. See, so many people, if somebody says, Scott, you have green hair, I can take that one of two ways. Well, first of all, I'm glad I have hair. But secondly, I could sit there and say, gosh, they say I have green hair. I'm just such the dredge of the earth. Or I could say, well, they know I got enough self-esteem and I feel good enough about myself. And I know that's not. So they're just using me as an example. Isn't it cool that they chose me to be the example? I could go in either direction, right? The challenge is not what anybody ever says to you. The challenge is what you say to you after they stop talking. And so the reality is, if again, I'm throwing out a lot of different concepts that I teach together, but
Right.
I teach high intention, low attachment. Have a high intention of imparting something great for each and every person you talk to, and a low attachment as to what that is specifically for either them or for you. So if you have a high intention of being in an interaction and somebody says you have great hair, you have a low attachment as to why they say it or any of those kinds of things. So again, I mean, I think a big part of this is understanding that you're infinitely capable. You've been built that way. You have a choice whether you turn the switch that says, yeah, I want to use all the God granted gifts that I've, been delivered, or say, yeah, mine aren't as good as somebody else's, so I'm not going to try. That doesn't seem like much fun to me.
Me neither.
So it's like the gas is on the right, press it.
That's it. That's exactly it. And one of the other things I've been learning through kind of this podcasting community I'm in is that for a lot of people, that sort of cycle of empowerment and then all the things build up and disempowerment is kind of goes in a 90-day sales cycle, they say. And like one of the ways to shift out of it is to celebrate your wins, celebrate your successes, and look at the things that didn't land, that you bought the green hair comment and you're like, I'm less than I was before because of this. Just like naming it and owning it and being like, okay, yeah, this happened and I'm not going to let it mean something that I don't want it to, because that's it.
Well, it's very astute of you to observe that. But the reality is, if you buy into the fact that everything like that happens in a 90-day cycle, guess what's going to happen? It's going to happen in a 90-day cycle because it's what you're looking for, right? And I agree with you wholeheartedly on celebrating your victories, celebrating your wins. I'll give you a funny yet very cool one. So as I'm writing my newest or finishing up on my newest book, multiple people, Bob Bodine, who wrote The Power of Who and Two Chairs, had given me some great things for the book. And Tom Ziegler, Zig Ziglar's son, had given me some great things for the book. But they both were talking about Bob Berg, the author of The Go-Giver, and what a great guy he is and what great philosophy he's put down and all the people he served. And totally agree. I've known Bob for a number of years. We shared the stage together. Bob has somewhat retired, just enjoying life, as he should. He's done a lot of great work. But his name kept on coming up. And I had all these other really great guys that had offered up tidbits for the book. And I sat there and I went, my spirit just kept on saying, you'd really be remiss if you didn't reach out to Bob Berg and suggest you're writing this book and you'd love to have some of his genius in it. But Scott, he's not doing this anymore. I mean, I'm in a battle with myself for a few minutes. And then I finally prepared an email and told him about the book. And I finished it with, Bob, if you would consider doing this, I need 15 minutes of your time. And it would be tremendously appreciated. And if you're enjoying retirement and you don't do this anymore, I still hold you in tremendously high regard. You're the OG. You're the man. You deserve every bit of the enjoyment you're living today. I'm fine with either answer. And I send him the email late on a Thursday afternoon. Friday morning, first email I get is from him going, send me a Zoom link. I got 15 minutes. And so he just gave me some brilliant things for the book. The point is, if he would have said yes, I was tremendously grateful. If he had said no, I would have been tremendously grateful. That's the low attachment side of the high intention. I wanted to honor him And I didn't want to exclude him by omission. But I also was okay if he said no. And I think that's the thing that people don't do enough of, is sometimes they get so set on their plan, their way, their whatever, right? I know the first time that I was on this platform, Riverside, we jumped over from another platform where I had a virtual background, and all of a sudden you see what you see. And somebody said, well, should have warned you. And I said, it's good. And they go, yeah, but you lost your branding. I said, it's good. It is what it is. Okay, my bad. I need to get more educated on the platform. And they said, why are you not upset? And I said, wouldn't that be a crazy thing to be upset about? Why would I want to take that energy and do it over that? You as a host are working to do the best job you can. Why would I be a pain in the butt about that? But I'm sure some people choose to be. But again, we live with these daily choices, sometimes minute by minute. And we can either lift up or try to crush. That doesn't seem like fun to me.
It doesn't seem like fun to me either, not in the least. And I love your energy, and like hearing you talk gives me goosebumps because it's very aligned. Like, I love all of just that idea that you put things out there because of the intention of putting things out there. And it's not necessarily result based. It's like, I'm coming at it with this intention. And inside that intention, stuff comes in and out and flows, and you maintaining this intention is what dictates what happens inside the flow of it.
Exactly. Well, as we prepared for this recording, for this podcast, I could have said, by the way, how many, what's the distribution of this? What channels is it going on? How many people view regularly? I subscribe to Mother Teresa. If you can't feed 100, feed one. I can't tell you who the one is. Now, would I prefer 100? Everybody would. But the point is, what people don't get too often, geometric progression says 2 telling 2 telling 2 telling 2, 32 and a half times, covers all 8.5 billion people on the planet. Everybody wants to start with 1,000. No, very few people want to start with the 2. See, if all you ever touch is 2, and those 2 touch 2, and those 2 touch 2, we can touch the world. And that's the point of, whether it be podcasts or media or blogs, or, yes, people use different mediums. And so if you're working to put out good messages on a consistent basis, put them out on various mediums, because it's not the medium that you like that counts. It's the medium that the receiver uses that counts. It's like a buddy of mine who said, a lot of boomers don't like Twitter, right? Oh, it's noisy. It's a friend of mine, Casey Eberhardt, the ideal networker. He teaches it the best way I've ever heard. Twitter, it's like you walked into a bar. It's noisy. It's crowded. Nobody's really paying attention, but there's a lot of stuff being said. Facebook, you go to a backyard barbecue with your family and friends. You're hanging out, drinking a beer and eating a burger. LinkedIn, stodgy. You're riding up an elevator for 120 floors. Nobody's paying attention. Everybody's averting and not looking at anybody. It doesn't matter whether you like them or not. It's where people are. You've got to go where people are. It's the same thing with podcast versus blog versus this versus that. So you're doing a great job, by the way.
Thank you. And I mean, for me, it's also those resources because the idea of putting it out on all those different platforms seems overwhelming. Whereas for me, I love the systems. I love that, okay, can I work with this one system and that blasts it out to all the different platforms? That's my fun. I'm like, I want that. And making it accessible, I'm like, yes, let's make it accessible to the
Well,
masses.
you just don't know, you don't know where it's going to land. And the reality is it just takes one. It truly does. One person hearing, going, oh my God, I want to offer them a full-blown TV show because I love the way that they present their genius, or whatever the case might be. You don't know. And so why do you sit and focus on trying to guess? Put out good stuff. If it's supposed to be seen or heard, it'll be seen or heard. It's the way it works in my world.
Too. And roping background, we've heard a bit about some of the people like Bob who inspired you and brought this work into your life. How did it start before that? Like what brought you to this work?
Well, I would credit, I grew up playing 5 sports, and so I was part of a lot of teams, and I had a lot of great coaches who invested in me, through athletics. And I think it's a shame that kids are not being more encouraged to do more athletics, team-based things, because you learn tremendous lifelong lessons there. So I would say that it started because of because of playing sports, having some amazing, legendary coaches that were willing to invest and teach you. So I was accustomed to somebody supplying input that you then responded to for your own betterment. Well, then when I got into the business world, you didn't necessarily have a coach sitting there barking at you day in and day out. So you had to make the decision to find those people yourself. Zig Ziglar was one of those. Jim Rohn was one of those. Hug Mendino was one of those. I mean, some names that people don't even, they're like, who the hell's that? W. Clement Stone, whatever. But I made a decision that if I wanted to get better in any particular area, I would seek out the best in that area and retain them as a mentor. So I've written checks to, the story I share is 19 mentors over my time. It's probably more than that. I'm sure it's more than that, probably. But I counted it one time and there were 19 of them that I had listed. But I went to find the best at that action, and not people who taught theory, but people who had actually done it. And so you start through reading books, and then you go to cassettes. Luckily, most of them weren't on 8 tracks, or we probably would have had that. You go from cassettes to CDs, and you go from that again to books and to PDFs and to ebooks and to, of course, live events. And Buckminster Fuller said many years ago, you can't learn less. Once you learn something, you can never unlearn it. It's there. Now, it might go back into the recesses of your memory. But the point is, once you learn it, and now you can simply grow upon it. And I think that we're all here to live a fabulous life, but also help expand society and civilization. And to do that, we have to learn new things. And over my lifetime, I think it's hilarious when you say, hey, remember when you had that telephone on the wall with the 25-foot cord? And people don't respond to the 25 feet of the cord. They go, "You had a telephone with a cord?" It's like, yeah, we're fortunate to have that. The reason you had the 25-foot cord is because it was at the bottom of the stairway, so you could take it all the way to the second floor. What? You didn't have a phone in every room? No. So, I mean, the fact is there's been so much technology and so much innovation and so much potential to learn from. Ray Kroc said it in 1953. You're green and growing, or you're ripe and rotting. And that's the truth. It's about constant, never-ending personal improvement. It's about continuing to learn. You got to be open.
Green hair is a benefit.
That's exactly it.
And that leads beautifully into, where are you growing from here? What are some of your next steps?
Well, I've got a new book coming out called Endless Connections, Creating Authentic Relationships That Matter. And it's what I have done my entire career, and that is create relationships, build rapport, earn trust, develop credibility, nurture those relationships, maintain those relationships, grow them over time. And it's been what I've done. And I was talking to a friend that goes, "God, I would love to read your book on connecting." And I went, "Well, that would be awesome if I'd written one on connecting. I might want to think about doing that." And that's where it really came from. But what I realized, and it's foundational in the book, there was a study done at the University of Texas, Dallas, probably 7 years ago now. And I seem to be the only one who's enthralled by this study, other than the guy who did the study. But it said there are 3 great changes in the human brain over all of time. First was 750 BC, when caveman stopped just grunting, but started carving hieroglyphics into the cave walls. The brain had to accommodate going from spoken word to written word. The second was 1440, when Gutenberg invented the printing press. We went from written word to duplicated, printed word. And the third major advent and brain change was the advent of the internet. We now went from duplicatable word to digital word. Well, what did that do? Well, in the United States, it was about the same time that we stopped teaching rote memory, which is basically 1A, B, learn it, memorize it in order, hold it up in your noggin, you're carrying it around with you. Well, in middle of Gen X and younger, millennials and Gen Z, they started teaching where to find knowledge. Okay, I'm not going to dispute whether that's good, bad, or indifferent. There's some challenges with it, though, that you need to recognize. If the battery runs out, you lost your access to knowledge. If this isn't with you, you lost your access to knowledge. Oh, by the way, not everything that's listed here is true. So now you still have to be able to discern and reason the knowledge. So one of the points that I bring up in the book is, but there are divides in the generations because of this. And many people aren't seeing it. They understand that there are divides, but they don't understand why they exist and how to solve them. Well, that's really what the book is designed to do, or that's my intent of the book. So if I have learned this knowledge, held it, had experiences over my lifetime, and turned that knowledge into wisdom, I am now a source for knowledge, wisdom, experience, and expertise. Okay. Well, I can assure you, nobody, boomer or silent generation, the generation older than I am, learned that knowledge without a bunch of bumps and bruises.
100%.
We got yelled at by our bosses. We got unfairly characterized. We got unfairly treated. Let me go back to my mom. It's not bleeding, spit on it, rub it, and get back out there, right? I mean, we took some bruises along the way. Well, there's a lot of boomers, I call it in the book boomer bias, that go, I can't believe you're not willing to go through what I went through to learn what I learned. I can't, you haven't scraped your knee. You haven't done this. You're just a wuss. It's a ridiculous place to be because there's now technology. There's now speed of knowledge. There's all these reasons why they don't have to do it that way. But there are a lot of people that are offended that they're not willing to get their butts kicked. Now, similarly, the younger generations are looking at the older generations, and their answer is, you're on your fifth marriage, you're overweight, you drink too much, you've done all, and I'm aspiring to be you. Why? Touche, grasshopper, right? I mean, it's like, what the heck are you thinking? And so what I share in the book is the idea of pulling the generations back together. Let's recognize who we are and what our attributes are. Let's not look at the less than perfect stuff. Let's look at the perfect stuff or the really good stuff. So if as a boomer, I have knowledge, wisdom, expertise, and desire to share it, and if a millennial has energy, drive, feistiness, knowledge and innovation, technology, and wants to learn the knowledge, what a great combination. Let's not divide us. Let's pull us together. How do you do it? Well, if the younger generations have been learned to find external hard drives full of information, my name is no longer Scott. My name is now external hard drive. Look at me as that source. I could use your energy. You can use my knowledge. We could come together and we could do some really great things together. So this is a long answer to the book is really designed to get people talking together again with respect, honor, and dignity. Pull people together. Let's figure out how to solve challenges and not create them. Let's find reasons to come together as opposed to reasons to point at each other and go, well, they're less than because of. That makes no sense to me.
Yeah. And makes no sense to me either. And it's that beautiful duality of one has something amazing to give to the other that the one's maybe lost along the way and the other one's never found. And like the mixture of it. It's so important, like the community aspect. And I've traveled a lot and there's other places in the world where people live very much still in community. And like you said, in our world today where we have a lot of technology sources, it's not there.
Well, when you see a dinner table and there's 6 people sitting there, all with 6 phones out, texting each other across the table. And I know that's an extreme example, but it happens. Or any of the different things. If you could just have a conversation, if you could say, hey, Megan, how can I be of service to you? And you said, hey, Scott, how can I be of service to you? Gosh, all of a sudden we're working. See, one of the things that created this, and there's a lot of different things that went into creating this. Like I said, the brain formation, the education system, all those played a part. But a huge part of it was the pandemic and people suggesting social distancing. And the minute that came out, I refused to social distance. And I became very public about it. Now, I was very safe about physical distance, but it was being said the wrong way. Words are important. If somebody figured that 6 feet from one another was a safe thing, which has been debunked and disproved, but whatever. It's a little social comment there. Fact is, if somebody felt you needed to be 6 feet from somebody, that's physical distance. Social distance is we are social beings. I upped my social game. I started calling more people. I started talking to more people. I started having more Zooms or more video conferences because we're built for community. We're built to communicate to one another. And again, that's why it's endless connections, creating authentic relationships that matter. We need to get back into relationships that matter. And by definition, that's with anybody who's walking on this earth. That's how we pull not only the generations together, but we pull people back together. And that's what needs to happen, because we got to work together to make this a better planet, create our little fiefdoms of different stuff.
Yep. I'm in complete agreement. And I'm glad that there's people like you in the world who are massive action takers taking massive action in these directions.
I'm excited about it. I want to be on more podcasts. I want to be on more stages. I want to share this message as far and wide as possible, because people are resonating to it. It's funny because I'll pull the screen back. When I wrote the book, I was thinking of from boomers down, right? The younger generations. Well, I was speaking to a group, and here I'm looking at, 50 tiles on a screen, and I'm the youngest person there. And I'm going, this is going to be awesome. I wonder how this is going to go, right? But I presented, and when we did questions and answers at the end, one of the ladies said, Scott, can I share something with you? And I said, certainly. She goes, I just want to thank you. I'm going to call my granddaughter right now, suggest that we go into business together, because I'm going to become her external hard drive. You just gave me life back. And so the other side of this is, not only is it pulling the generations together, it's already happening. This is past a book. It's already starting into movement kind of stage. But the older generations are now saying, I still have value. Everything that I've been through and lived through could be an asset to someone else. I didn't think they cared anymore. And so the whole idea of seniors being able to share their wisdom, share their knowledge. Yeah, some of the stuff is outdated. Okay, we don't do it that way anymore, Granddad. Cool. But the end result is what we're looking for. How we accomplish it is not, yes, this is how we did it in my day, but what we work to do is connect with people and treat them with respect, honor, and dignity. So now, young snapper, use your technology to get that end result, right? And so that's what's so gratifying about this isn't my mission. This is, I believe, my God mission. I believe this is higher source saying we've got to pull together one way or the other. And you can't solve a single problem. You can't solve a big problem without talking. It doesn't work.
That's exactly it. And as unfortunately time is wrapping up, what are some last words of wisdom and advice to leave everyone with?
There's so many. What just came to me is love one another. Lift people up, respect each other. My platform is really to return respect, honor, and dignity to the planet. Respect is how you treat another person. Honor is how you celebrate them for who they are. Dignity is what's experienced by both parties when that's done well. If we could just get back into showing respect to one another, novel concepts, holding a door for somebody, being appreciative if somebody holds the door for you. It's not a big thing. When you're in a supermarket and you've got 47 things in your cart and the person behind you has 2, say, please, go ahead of me. Is it going to cost you 45 seconds in your life? Right? So again, I truly believe if we respect each other, if we honor each other, if we dignify the situation, the experience for all would be so much better. And for you, for what you're doing. we just met a week ago. And it's been like we've known each other for a long time. And I'm excited about what you're working to accomplish. And I want to do whatever I can to help support you in that, because we need more of you doing what you're doing. So if we all just put in a little extra, I think you'd find it to be very rewarding.
I agree. And here's to a little extra. Thank you very much, Scott, for everything, and we will be in touch.
I look forward to it. Thanks
So
all.